Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
So, Hare Krishna, I'm very fortunate to be here at the banks of the sacred river Godavari, at this particular spot of the Godavari which is most sacred, facing the site of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's talks with Sri Ramananda Rai, and now even further sanctified by the presence of Sri Sri Radha Gopinath. I've come to Rajahmundry a few times, but this is I think it's more than 10 years since I last came now. I've been traveling in this country for over 30 years now. Almost 30 years. So, I should give you some instruction, isn't it? Upadesha. Having come here, it is my duty on behalf of Srila Prabhupada and the Parampara to give some instruction. So, what advice should I give to you who are serious about Krishna consciousness? But I think most of you are still pretty much in the beginning stages. Well, I could advise you to chant Hare Krishna. That's very good advice. I can advise you to preach and bring more devotees. That's also very good. But the point I'm going to stress now is that you should all carefully, regularly, and systematically study Srila Prabhupada's books. Carefully, regularly, systematically. You got all of that? By regularly studying Srila Prabhupada's books, you will get all inspiration to perform all the other activities of sadhana bhakti. You will become fixed in doing so. Your faith will become strong. You will get great pleasure from doing so, by which you will get the spiritual strength, knowledge, and pleasure by which you'll be able to overcome anarthas. Anartha means everything that blocks our progress in Krishna consciousness. Anartha means everything that blocks our progress in Krishna consciousness. So now you're in the beginning stages, but you should advance to the perfect stage. Purna avastha. Why don't you say it in Telugu? Purna, isn't it? Is that all right? Yeah. Say it in Telugu. Srila Prabhupada has, within his books, given us all the knowledge and direction by which we can advance to the perfect stage. We might think that, well, I'll chant Hare Krishna and do some service and go to the classes and that's enough. But it makes a lot of difference if we read or if we don't read. If we read, we get knowledge of what we're doing. Our whole Krishna consciousness becomes enriched. And we can enter into what the Bhagavatam calls Bhakti Tattva Gyan, by which, in all respects, it helps us to remember Krishna and to clearly understand what we're doing. If we don't try to understand why we are doing what we are doing, then it's quite likely that even if we do the right things, we'll do them for the wrong reasons. Just like chanting Hare Krishna, this brings all perfection. But it only brings complete perfection if that's what we desire and aim for. Those who chant Hare Krishna desiring material benefits don't attain to pure bhakti, Shuddha bhakti. That's why we are warned to guard against the 10 offenses. These 10 offenses are all caused by misunderstanding of Vaishnava Siddhanta. So, most Hindus even today are pious enough that if you ask them to say Hare Krishna, they'll say Hare Krishna at least once. And many, if you ask, they'll even start chanting Hare Krishna on beads. But as long as they're thinking that all the gods are the same and Krishna is just another god, then they cannot attain love of Krishna, even if they chant Hare Krishna for millions of lifetimes. Bahu janma kare jadi shravan kirtan tabuta na pai Krishna pade prem dhan. You know this verse? Can you give the translation? It means that even if one chants offensively, then he may do for many lifetimes, but he won't get love of Krishna. So we should know what is the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, and Prabhupada has very kindly presented it in his books. unless we make the endeavor to understand this philosophy, then certainly we will maintain misconceptions. And then we may be doing all the activities of bhakti, but we don't make proper progress because our aim isn't clear where we're going. So yes, I want to encourage you, please chant Hare Krishna. But read Prabhupada's books also to understand why we are chanting. And yes, I can encourage you to preach and make more devotees. But actually we can't preach very effectively unless we know what is the philosophy of Krishna consciousness by studying Prabhupada's books. And if we do study Prabhupada's books, we'll become convinced and strong and enthusiastic to preach. Our preaching is not simply to increase numbers like Christians or these nonsense so-called Kalki avatar followers next door. We're not interested simply in increasing numbers like some political party or something like that. But our aim is to carry the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as received in Parampara through Srila Prabhupada, to enlighten people as to their actual constitutional position of eternity, knowledge and bliss. These points can be understood clearly by regularly studying Prabhupada's books. Many times devotees come to me and they ask me for blessings. I'm not very much interested in giving blessings to people's neophyte state of bhakti. Better than giving blessings, I can give you this advice which will be so much helpful in your life that you study Prabhupada's books very carefully. Don't think that you just go to the sadhu and take blessings and then you go to sleep and you get Krishna prema. It doesn't work like that. You make the endeavor to advance in devotional service and automatically the blessings will be there. You don't have to just ask for the blessing machine to come and touch you on the head. Now you're being careful not to say anything in English. So, that doesn't mean that now you all go home and you never come back to the temple because you're always reading Prabhupada's books. I'm not saying don't reduce anything that you're doing in bhakti now, but make time for studying Prabhupada's books very carefully also. Of course, it may be that you already are doing so, and if so, I can congratulate you on that. But Srila Prabhupada sometimes used to say that my only complaint about my disciples is they don't read my books. But actually in those days we did a lot more than devotees generally do nowadays. It was standard among Prabhupada's disciples when Prabhupada was present to read his books regularly. So that, devotees after 2-3 years in the movement, they would have read, most of the books. Whereas nowadays, unfortunately, it's not uncommon to find devotees who've been initiated for 10 years and they haven't read even the first canto of Bhagavatam. So this is an important part of all of our spiritual lives, that we must read all of Prabhupada's books. So we may calculate, alright, let me think, it'll take me how long to do that? It'll take me maybe 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. How long will it take me to finish it? You can't finish in 5 years. You can't finish in 50 years or 500 years. When you've read through them once, you read them again. When you read them again, you read again, like that. Every time you read, you'll get so much more extra depth and richness in understanding of Krishna consciousness. One devotee, I was pushing him, you have to read books, you have to read. No initiation unless you read. So he wrote to me that I was thinking that I'm not one of those people that read books. I'm just one of those people who, I go to the temple, I chant and I dance in the kirtan and I take prasadam. Reading is not for me. But he said that now I'm reading, I'm so happy, I'm just thinking how I can find more and more time to study the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a whole new dimension for me. A whole new experience, you can say. So that's my Upadesham for today. Specific point to you. There are so many more things to say. I'll say more in the evening after the arati. Do any of you have any questions? Just one at a time. I say it loudly. Did everyone hear the question?
So which form of Vishnu we have to worship? What is the difference between Vishnu and Krishna? And who will give us moksha, liberation?
These are very basic questions. Prarambhik, something like this. You have to read Prabhupada's books. No, Krishna and Vishnu are non-different. The Supreme Lord is one, but He takes many forms to perform various pastimes. Nevertheless, the original form of the Supreme Lord is Krishna. Generally people think differently, but from the ultimate Shastric perspective, it's understood. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. The original form of the Supreme Lord is Krishna. Krishna and Vishnu being non-different, the Supreme Lord, Vishnu or Krishna, or whichever form he may be perceived in, gives moksha. But devotees are not very interested in moksha. They're interested in serving Krishna. Bhakti means love. If you're thinking, I want moksha, I want moksha, I want moksha, I want, this is not love. This is not bhakti. Any other question?
Maharaj, the question is, so how we should control the lust which generates in our heart?
Have you read Bhagavad Gita as it is? Well, I can't, I'm not speaking to the sky here. Who asked the question? Do you read Srila Prabhupada? Do you read Bhagavad Gita as it is? You've read, beginning to end.
No, he says it's not completely.
But this is near the beginning. Where's the Bhagavad Gita? I'll let you give the answer. It's very clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita. Apart from that, I have that in Bhagavad Gita, it's given clearly but concisely. I've also written a book called Brahmacharya and Krishna Conscious, which gives in some detail discussion of these points. So you can see that afterwards. If anyone wants to translate it in Telugu, they're welcome. No, actually there is someone in Hyderabad who's not this, but in due course of time, I guess he'll translate that. You didn't bring the Bhagavad Gita? Anyway, you can see at the end of chapter 3, in which Lord Krishna discusses the topic of lust in some detail. And in there he states that by higher knowledge one should conquer the enemy of self-realization, which is called lust. But then you have to have the knowledge, otherwise you can't do it. Yeah, what else?
Maharaj, 5,000 years ago Krishna has descended into this world and has performed Leelas in Vrindavana. And before that, all the people used to worship Vishnu. So before those, in those time, people, does it mean they don't know about Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead?
No, they knew. Yeah, anyway, that's the keep it just in case we need it. Questions? Prahlad Maharaj, who was appearing near the beginning of Satya Yuga, he was worshipping Krishna. The version is there in Srimad Bhagavatam. Just like we know of Kalki Avatar, the real Kalki Avatar, even though he hasn't yet appeared, but we have knowledge from Shastra.
Maharaj, the question is, in order to reach Krishna, we have to surrender to the lotus feet of the Guru. So how we can surrender to the lotus feet of Guru in order to get his mercy?
Follow the instructions. Guru is meant for giving instructions. Guru means teacher who guides you how to be free from misconceptions and gives knowledge of Krishna. So this idea that, you just touch the Guru and then you get some electric shock and you get Krishna Prem it's a fairy story. How do you say fairy story in Telugu? It's kalpanik. This idea is promoted by idiots like this. All this, you just believe in Jesus. But what about, Prabhupada always say, what about following the instructions of Jesus? Everything that's going on in the name of religion in the world is cheating. What is that? Joto. Pritivite, Joto, Kichu, Dharmanama Chale, Bhagavata Kahe Taha, Paripurna Chale. Whatever is going on in the world in the name of religion, according to the Srimad Bhagavatam, is all simply cheating. So we shouldn't also subscribe to this cheating. ISKCON is not meant for cheating, but for giving genuine spiritual life. So it's true that Guru's mercy is indispensable. Anivarya, but that doesn't mean, but that mercy comes in the form of guidance and instruction. Anything else?
Maharaj, the question is, so after reaching Golok Vrindavana, we will not come back. So
you want to come back?
We will never come back.
She wants to come back? Ask. No. So don't come back. You go, don't come back.
The question actually is, so because of how we get that Ishvara Bhavana and come to this materialistic world?
That you have to give the answer yourself. That she has to say, why did you come? Why are we such rascals that we left Krishna? That's our own individual foolishness. Krishna bahimukhoya bhogavancha kare nikatasta maya tare japatiya dhare. Means that becoming inimical to Krishna, we desire material enjoyment, and Maya, who's just waiting, captures us. Alright, I'm going to finish now, and then later later on we'll speak also, because I want to go for snanam also. For snanam and samadhanam also. Yeah, please. Yeah. How many want me to come back? I can stay here also. The thing is, I can't stay physically, but I can stay in the form of books.
I'm asking them when you will come back.
No, but I can stay.
So,
You see, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur described there's Vapu and Vani. So the body you can look at and say, Jai Maharaj, and I can speak something, but in the books, the essence of what I have to speak is there also. Actually, I'd like to stay, but where we're discussing this morning, that ISKCON is growing so much, and you can't, the number of sannyasis is not growing in proportion, and you just can't, pick someone up and put a rubber stamp and make them a sannyasi.
So I am asking them if they follow your instructions by reading Srila Prabhupada's books.
Yeah, you all read all of Prabhupada's books. If I tell this, then, even if I come once, if they follow that, then that will be such good instruction. They may wonder, that's perfect. Yeah, that's good. Hare Krishna. So,